The first time it happened, the power went out during a thunderstorm. My bodyguard Natalie and I were alone in my penthouse, darkness surrounding us, and in that moment when neither of us could see, something shifted between us. What started as professional protection became something far more dangerous, something we had to keep hidden in the shadows, because the light of day would expose what we couldn't afford anyone to know. Before I tell you how our secret began, let me ask, what city are you watching from? Drop it in the comments below and subscribe to help this channel grow. Your support means everything. My name is Rebecca Hayes, and I'm a federal prosecutor in Chicago. I put away dangerous people, which made me a target. After credible threats to my life, I was assigned Natalie Chen as my personal protection. She was FBI, the best they had, with a reputation for never losing a client. She was also quietly intense in a way that made my pulse quicken every time she entered a room. Natalie maintained strict professional boundaries from the start. She called me Miss Hayes, stayed 3 steps behind me in public, and never shared personal information beyond what was necessary for my safety. But I noticed things about her anyway. The way she moved with lethal grace. How her dark eyes constantly scanned for threats. The rare occasions when she'd almost smile at something I said before catching herself. We spent every day together for months. She drove me to court, stood outside conference rooms, accompanied me to dinners and events. The proximity was constant, and with it came an awareness I couldn't shake. I noticed when she was tired, when something bothered her, when she was particularly alert. I learned her coffee order, the way she tied her hair back when she was focused, how she'd tap her thumb against her holster when thinking. I told myself it was just familiarity, that anyone would notice these things about someone they spent 16 hours a day with. But I knew I was lying to myself. I was noticing because I was attracted to her. Because I looked forward to seeing her every morning, because her presence made me feel safe in ways that went beyond physical protection. The night everything changed started ordinarily enough. I was working late at home, preparing for a major trial. Natalie was positioned in the living room, monitoring security feeds on her laptop. A storm rolled in, thunder shaking the windows, rain pounding against the glass. Then the lights went out. Complete darkness. Miss Hayes, stay where you are. Natalie's voice came from the doorway immediately. I'm checking the circuit breaker. I heard her moving confidently through the dark apartment. A few minutes later, she returned. Power's out in the whole building. Storm must have knocked out a transformer. Could be hours before it's restored. I have work to do, I said, frustration creeping into my voice. This trial is too important. I have a flashlight in my gear. Let me get it. She disappeared and returned with a small tactical light. This will help some. She set it on my desk, creating a small circle of illumination in the vast darkness. The intimacy of the single light source, the way the shadows swallowed everything beyond our small space, created an atmosphere I'd never experienced with her before. Thank you, I said softly. She nodded and started to retreat to her usual post, but I stopped her. Natalie, you don't have to stand in the dark. You can work in here where there's light. She hesitated. That's not protocol, Miss Hayes. I'm giving you permission to break protocol. Please, the storm is making me nervous. And I'd feel better having you closer. It was partially true. The storm was intense, thunder rattling the windows. But I was also using it as an excuse to keep her near me in this unexpected intimacy the darkness created. All right. She agreed, moving into the room and settling into a chair across from my desk. In the dim light, her features were softened, less guarded than usual. The darkness seemed to give us both permission to relax slightly. We worked in comfortable silence for a while, the storm raging outside. Then she spoke quietly. Can I ask you something personal, Miss Hayes? Rebecca. When we're alone like this, please call me Rebecca. Rebecca. She said my name carefully, like she was testing how it felt. Why did you become a prosecutor? With your background, you could have made 10 times the money in corporate law. No one had asked me that in years, because I wanted to matter. I wanted to do something that actually helped people, not just corporations. Is that naive? No, it's admirable. She paused. Most people I protect are in it for money or power. You genuinely care about justice. It's rare. You protect me because it's your job. But why did you choose this work? She was quiet for a long moment. I lost my younger sister to violence when I was 20. I couldn't protect her. So now I protect everyone I can. Maybe it's my way of trying to save her retroactively, even though I know that's impossible. The raw honesty in her voice, the vulnerability she was showing in the darkness, made my chest ache. I'm so sorry, Natalie. It was a long time ago. But it's why I take this work seriously. You're not just an assignment to me, Rebecca. Keeping you safe matters. The way she said my name, the intensity in her voice, made something spark between us. In the darkness, with the storm as our only witness, the professional walls between us felt thinner, more permeable. I'm glad you're here, I said softly. Not just because you're good at your job. Because it's you. Even in the dim light, I could see her expression shift. Rebecca, we shouldn't double quotes. I know. There are rules, protocols, all the reasons this is inappropriate. I stood and moved around the desk, closer to where she sat. But Natalie, for months I've been pretending I don't feel what I feel. And right now, in the dark, I'm tired of pretending. She stood too. Jama Shinha. She stood too. The dark, I'm tired of pretending. She stood too, and suddenly we were inches apart in that small circle of light. What do you feel? That I look forward to seeing you every morning more than anything else in my day. That I find excuses to talk to you. That when you're near me, I feel safer and more alive at the same time. I took a breath. That I'm falling for you, and I don't know what to do about it. Her hand came up, cupping my face gently. You're falling for me. Yes. My voice was barely a whisper. God, Rebecca. I've been fighting the same thing for months. Her thumb brushed across my cheek. This goes against everything I'm trained to do. But you make it impossible to stay distant. Then don't stay distant. Not here. Not in the dark where no one can see. She leaned in slowly, giving me time to pull away. When I didn't, her lips met mine in a kiss that was somehow both gentle and desperate. I kissed her back, months of suppressed attraction pouring into that moment. Her arms came around me, pulling me closer, and I felt safe and desired and seen in ways I'd never experienced. When we broke apart, both breathing hard, she rested her forehead against mine. This has to be our secret. If anyone finds out, I'll be removed from your detail. Maybe fired. Then no one finds out. I kissed her again, softer. What happens in the dark stays in the dark. That became our unspoken rule. During the day, we maintained perfect professionalism. She called me Miss Hayes, kept her distance, acted like the consummate bodyguard. But when darkness fell, when we were alone behind closed doors, the walls came down. She'd stay late at my apartment, and after checking all the security measures, she'd find me. Sometimes we'd talk for hours, sharing pieces of ourselves we hid from everyone else. Sometimes she'd hold me on the couch while we watched movies in the dark. Sometimes we'd kiss until we were both dizzy with wanting more. We were careful, meticulous, even. She'd never arrive early or stay too late in ways others might notice. We never showed any hint of familiarity in public. When colleagues were around, we were purely professional. Our relationship existed only in those stolen moments when darkness gave us permission to be ourselves. 3 months into our secret, she showed up at my door after midnight. I'd had a particularly brutal day in court, facing down a defendant who threatened me openly. Natalie had been there, of course, alert and protective. But now, in the dark of my apartment, her professional mask dropped. Are you all right? She asked, pulling me into her arms. I'm fine. You were there. He scared you. I could see it even though you didn't show it in court. She held me tighter. I wanted to do something more than just stand there. You being there was enough. I looked up at her. Natalie, I need to tell you something. This thing between us, it's not just attraction anymore. I'm in love with you. She closed her eyes briefly. When she opened them, they were bright with emotion. Rebecca, I love you too. I've been in love with you for months. But this situation, keeping us secret, it's not sustainable long term. What are we supposed to do? If we go public, you lose your job and I lose you completely. I know. I've been thinking about that. She led me to the couch, pulling me down beside her. I could request a transfer, move to a different division. Then we could be together openly. The thought of her not being my bodyguard, of losing her constant presence in my life, hurt. But then you wouldn't be with me during the day. Someone else would protect me. Someone competent would protect you. And I'd get to actually be your girlfriend, take you on real dates, not just stolen moments in the dark. She tucked my hair behind my ear. Don't you want that? To not have to hide? Of course I do. But I'm also scared. What if when we're not secret anymore, when we have to exist in the light of day as a normal couple, it's different? It won't be different. I'll still love you. You'll still be the bravest, most principled person I know. We'll just get to be honest about it. She kissed me softly. Think about it. There's no rush. But Rebecca, I want a future with you that's more than shadows and secrets. I thought about it for weeks. During the day, watching her protect me with such dedication, I'd imagine what it would be like if she was there because she chose to be, not because it was her assignment. During our nights together, I'd picture being able to go out with her, hold her hand in public, introduce her as my girlfriend instead of my bodyguard. Finally, I made my decision. One night, in the darkness of my bedroom, I told her, "Do it. Request the transfer. I want a real relationship with you." Her smile was brilliant even in the dim light. Yeah. I want to take you on dates. I want to tell people about you. I want to stop hiding how I feel. I kissed her. I want you, Natalie. In the light and in the dark. The transition took a month. Natalie formally requested reassignment and was moved to a different division within the FBI. A new bodyguard, Jessica, took over my protection. She was professional and competent, but she wasn't Natalie. Our first public date was strange and wonderful. Natalie picked me up at my apartment, not in an official vehicle but in her personal car. She took me to a restaurant where we sat across from each other at a romantic table, not with her scanning the room for threats. We held hands walking afterward, something we'd never been able to do before. "This is nice," I said, leaning into her. "It's amazing. Though I have to admit, part of me is still scanning for threats. Old habits." I laughed. "Some things don't change. But this, us being open about it, this is worth it. We built a relationship in the light." She met my family, I met hers. We went to work events together, me introducing her proudly as my girlfriend. My colleagues were surprised but supportive. Her FBI friends were less shocked. Apparently several of them had suspected something was going on. 6 months after she transferred, she moved into my apartment. Having her there every night, not as my protector but as my partner, felt right in ways I couldn't fully express. We cooked together, worked side by side, fell asleep wrapped around each other. But sometimes we'd turn off all the lights. We'd sit in the darkness like we used to, and she'd hold me close, and we'd remember how it all started. Those moments felt special, sacred even. They were reminders of when our love was new and secret, when darkness gave us permission to be honest. A year after our first kiss in the dark, she proposed. We were at my apartment during a thunderstorm. Just like the night everything changed. She turned off all the lights, leaving us in darkness illuminated only by lightning flashes. "Rebecca Hayes," she said, taking my hands. We started in the dark, in secret, when being together was against all the rules. But you were worth breaking every rule for. You were worth the risk of losing my job, worth the fear of being discovered. You were worth everything. She pulled out a ring box, opening it. A flash of lightning illuminated the ring inside. "I don't want to keep any more secrets. I want to tell the whole world that you're mine and I'm yours. Will you marry me?" I said yes through tears, and she slipped the ring on my finger in the darkness. We kissed as thunder shook the building, remembering that first storm, that first moment we stopped pretending. We got married 6 months later. The ceremony was at sunset, that perfect moment between light and dark. When we exchanged vows, she promised to protect my heart with the same dedication she'd once protected my life. I promised to love her in light and darkness, in secret and in public, in every moment we had together. Looking back now, I understand why our secret in the dark was so powerful. Darkness strips away pretense, removes the masks we wear in daylight. In those shadowed moments, we could be completely honest about what we wanted, what we felt, who we really were. Our relationship started as something we had to hide, something that could only exist in stolen moments in darkened rooms. But what we built in those shadows was real enough to survive the light, strong enough to risk everything for, true enough to last. People sometimes ask how we knew it was worth the risk. I tell them about those nights in the dark, about how she looked at me when she thought no one could see, about the honesty that darkness allowed. I tell them that some loves start in secret but are too powerful to stay hidden. She went from bodyguard to lover, from professional protector to partner in every sense. But the best moments are still sometimes in the dark, when we turn off all the lights and remember how we started. When we hold each other in the shadows, and know that what we have is strong enough to survive any light, any scrutiny, any challenge. Our secret in the dark became our truth in the light. And I wouldn't change a single moment of how we got here. If you're still watching, thank you for being here. Subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment telling me about a secret that changed your life. Have you ever had something you had to keep hidden that became the most important thing in your world? I'd love to hear your stories. Because sometimes secrets aren't about shame. Sometimes they're about protecting something precious until it's strong enough to survive exposure. Sometimes darkness isn't the enemy. It's the space where truth can finally be spoken without fear. Natalie was my bodyguard, then my lover, now my wife. She protected me from danger, then protected our secret, now protects our life together. And sometimes, on stormy nights, we still turn off all the lights and sit in the darkness, remembering where we started and celebrating where we are now. From bodyguard to lover. From secret to truth. From darkness to light. That's our story, and I'm grateful for every moment of it.